The list of things which are different in Japan when it comes to selling is quite long. In today's show, we're going to try and bring up the main differences. Welcome back to Year 6 of the Cutting Edge Japan Business Show, which we release every Monday. I'm your host, Dr. Greg Story, Dale Carnegie, Tokyo franchise owner, master trainer, president of Dale Carnegie Tokyo Training, and 3-time best-selling author of Japan Sales Mastery, Japan Business Mastery, and Japan Presentations Mastery. Zaegyo is the translation of Japan Sales Mastery. My latest book is Stop Wasting Money on Training, and the Japanese translation is Training de okane o mura ni suru no wa yamimashou. We are bringing the show to you from our High Performance Center in Akasaka in Minato-ku, the business center of Tokyo. Why the cutting edge? We are here to win in business in Japan. Let's all be at the forefront, at the cutting edge of how to flourish here in this market. This is episode number 266. Selling in Japan is different. それでは行きましょう. So let's get going. This is a pretty big subject, so I will pick up a few of the more noteworthy differences. In the West, salespeople, for the most part, are involved in an occupation for which they have received no training. They are thrown into sales to sink or swim. If they don't sell, they don't eat, because of the sales commission structures. Total commission-based remuneration is a normal thing in most countries, or at least the pay structures will have a very high at-risk component. In many cases, this drives desperation and salespeople saying anything to get a sale in order to last another week on the job. Cold calling potential clients is a big part of finding new buyers, and a lot of attention is placed on prospecting and pipeline building activities. Japan is quite different. There are very few salespeople here in 100% commission sales jobs. The simple reason is because they don't have to. Anyone on that type of pay scale is in a very low-level job and are usually pretty young people who are not very well educated. The touts you see on the street outside clubs in Kabukicho, in Shinjuku, or in Roppongi, or Akasaka, will no doubt be on high commissions and very low base salaries. The societal status attached to those in commission sales is also very low, so it's very hard to find anyone who wants to do it. In Japan, you don't want your daughter to marry one of them. Like the West, most Japanese people have no training in sales apart from a perfunctory on-the-job training exposure. I say exposure because it is rather more cosmetic than concrete. Your boss or one of the more experienced salespeople will take you with them to visit a few clients, and then bingo, you're out there on your own. Your boss and the others in the firm went through the same process, so no one thinks anything about it. This is a brilliant system for reproducing mediocrity generation after generation. In both cases of untrained Western and Japanese salespeople, they notoriously launch straight into their pitch without asking any questions of the buyer. They immediately go into the dark pit of details, the facts, the spec, the brochure, the flyers, the PowerPoint, the catalog, etc. In the West, commission-based salespeople can have ultra-short professional lives in sales. Most people with little or no training have simply no idea what they're doing, and so they just fail. In short order, they are sayonara out of sales. The Darwinian penalty for failure is sales oblivion. In Japan, salespeople are usually on a salary and bonus arrangement or base salary and commission, with the base being fairly high. For some of my followers living outside of Japan, it may be news to learn that because of the labor laws here, incompetence is not an acceptable reason to fire people in companies. We are predominantly talking about the mid-sized and big companies now, because in smaller firms that bias is not so pronounced. Nevertheless, in Japan, the failing salesperson would get a good dose of verbal abuse from the boss on a regular basis. If they can't take that, then they will quit, or if they can take it and won't quit, they will be transferred to another non-sales role elsewhere in the company. Fairly useless salespeople are tolerated here, much more than in the West. Find out more when we come back from the break. The bestseller, Japan Sales Mastery, is the new Bible of selling in Japan. To sell to Japanese buyers, you need to create long-term partner-level trust, fully understand Japanese buyers' real needs, convince buyers with your solutions, overcome their hesitation, fear and doubt, know how to ask for the order, ensure repeat orders. This book is the product of 30 plus years in the trenches selling in Japan. Order Japan Sales Mastery now. Welcome back. Japanese larger companies are generalist rather than specialist production machines. Everyone is expected to migrate their way around the different parts of the company, picking up experience along the way over the course of their long career. One of those rotations may be into the sales department. Strangely, there is very limited activity applied to prospecting, especially cold calling. Japanese salespeople rely on their firm's brand to do the bulk of the selling for them. If you aren't very good at hunting, getting new clients, then no problem. You are assigned to become a farmer, taking care of existing clients. Basically, your job is to turn up and clip their ticket for the next regular order. For all Japanese salespeople, you must be totally subservient and uber obedient to the buyer. You must do whatever they say, be available 24 hours a day, and put up with large amounts of crap to keep the buyer happy and loyal. And trust me, Japanese buyers are incredibly picky and demanding. If you make a mess of even this in the lesser demanding role of farmer, then you will get moved out into another department. You won't get fired. In the West, we are trained to persuade the buyer, to counter whatever they say, and to have a comeback immediately. We say the buyer is king, yet we need to get their royal agreement to buy. There are lots of tactics used to get this yes. Salespeople can be very aggressive and terrier-like about this process. They will argue with the buyer and try to convince them to reverse their opposition to purchasing. For example, if the buyer says, "I'll think about it," then the salespeople will ask them, "What in particular do you need to think about? Who else will be involved in this decision?" etc. And keep pushing hard to get a sale. In Japan, the end decision maker is very vague and unclear. Sometimes inside companies, we can't tell. When they say, "we will think about it," they mean it, because the person you are sitting across the table from cannot make the decision on their own. Everyone who will be impacted by the buying decision has to be consulted and a consensus reached before moving forward. In Japan, this always seems to take a lot of time. Now in Japan, the buyer is not king. The buyer is God. Salespeople must meekly obey whatever God says. The buyer will solely direct the sales meeting conversation and will be looking for the salesperson's pitch so they can fill it and then destroy it. This is a tried and true technique to reduce risk. By pulling these pitches apart limb by limb, they want the seller to now show them this is not a risky decision. It will come back later to haunt their career. Part of this pitch and then firestorm of buyer criticism routine is that there are no discovery questions being asked of the buyer. The salesperson is scared to ask the buyer, that is to say God, any questions, so they remain ignorant of their needs. If they happen to have what the buyer needs and they have successfully dealt with the risk question, then they will get a sale. The typical lack of sales training is similar in the West and Japan, but the degrees of aggression are quite different. Pushy sales techniques just won't work here. If you don't know how to get permission to ask questions, then be prepared to be like grouse at a shooting afternoon in Scotland as the well-armed buyer gives you both barrels and blows your pitch out of the air. Decisions are always going to take time because of the group orientation of the society, and the buyer is never on your nor your boss's schedule. I hope you enjoyed today's show, and so please subscribe to it on YouTube. Share it with your family, friends, and colleagues. Become a regular. Hit the little bell icon to receive update notifications. Our website details are on screen now, dale-carnegie.co.jp. It's awesome value, so check it out. We try to offer as much value as possible, so you might also enjoy our other shows. In fact, we're releasing content 6 days a week. By the way, how many companies, let alone training companies in Japan, are doing that, do you suppose? Answer, just one, Dale Carnegie Tokyo Training. Now, for podcasts, Mondays for the Cutting Edge Japan Business Show, Tuesday for the Presentation Japan series, and every second Tuesday for the Business Tatsujin no Oshie Show, Wednesdays for the Sales Japan series, Thursdays for the Leadership Japan series, and every second Thursday for the Business Pro Podcasto Show. Fridays for the Japan Business Mastery Show, and Saturdays for Japan's top business interviews, wherever you get your podcasts. For TV shows, Mondays for the Cutting Edge Japan Business Show, every second Thursday we release the Business Pro Television Show, every Friday the Japan Business Mastery Show, and every Saturday Japan's top business interviews on YouTube. We appreciate your support, and please let others know about it so they can benefit too. We want to make a contribution to helping people, and please join us in that endeavor. Our training mantra is, we are 100% committed to using our soft skills training to transform your career and business. Dale Carnegie Tokyo Training are in your corner here in Nippon. In episode 267, we're talking about leaders must listen more. So yoroshiku onegai itashimasu. Please join me for the next episode of the Cutting Edge Japan Business Show. We are here to help you. We've only got one direction in mind for you and your business, and that is up.